Hey guys, and welcome back after our sort of shortish hiatus. No. Hey, I'm out of practice. Hey guys, and welcome back. So after our short little break from YouTube over the Christmas and New Year's period, whilst we decided to have some time to ourselves for first time in a while, we're back with our first video of 2021, and we thought how better to start 2021 than a tour of literally almost everything. So let's go and take a look, and let's show you around the MJ's pythons. I don't want to say facility, let's take a look. So first off, we're going to start with this room, which we refer to quite a lot as the exhibit room. And we call it the exhibit room because it's where we started to sort of exhibit and do these lovely, like, sort of homemade, hand-built vivs. But this room is changing. It is going to be changing over the next couple of months. More things are going to be added in here. Things are going to be changed. There's some renovations going on. But as it stands, we still have Apollo, our ridge-tailed monitor, one of my first animals, still in his viv. Obviously, as we saw we've done this video before, we saw in a previous video that this setup is a 4x2.5, I believe it is, just under 3 foot front to back. All done up with expanding foam, and this one was grout, wasn't it, Jay?
Yeah.
So he's got this sort of rocky exhibit with the underground layer of coconut husk. No, not husk, core, so like the soil looking stuff. Just to add humidity in there for him. And he can, in his burrows, which he burrows into through the back, and the sort of underground networks, etc. for him. So right below Apollo, and she's making a whole load of noise, as she usually does, is our Peach throat monitor, Peach. Now, Peach is, I don't know what she's doing. She's doing a bit of a ballet for us. And she's probably peckish. She's always peckish, this one. We've been doing a few videos with her more recently, handling and working with her. She's getting a lot better. She's still a nervous animal, but that's just to be expected from Peach throat monitors. Her viv is still here. We have toyed with the idea of potentially changing her out into something different, but Peach, no, I've got a bit bad to you yesterday. I don't need to be bitten by you today. If we change her, it'll be to an enlarger enclosure with a better swimming area, because she does really love her water. But for now, she's loving this. There's plenty of space for her, and she's doing really well. So then over here we have these other two vivs. This one's currently empty. It did house our carpet python male, who's currently in a rec system. Reasons in there is because we're going to be doing renovations on this enclosure. The so the coconut fiber layer over the expanding firm has begun to come away. That was mostly done back when the anaconda, Connie used to live in here, where he got into the expanding firm wall and we had to tear it apart. So some parts remain damaged and we just wanted to touch it up. So he's currently in a rack system whilst we renovate this enclosure. He may be going back in there. We may be putting lights in these instead, and we may be putting the redfoots in there, but we'll talk about the redfoots in a second. In the final one, we have the anaconda, who an awesome animal, but an experience to work with for sure. He is not the friendliest of beings. He is a yellow anaconda, and unlike the greens, from what I understand, green anacondas are typically quite docile. The yellow anacondas, on the other hand, a little bit more nippy. So above these two up here, we have this Exoterra. I believe this is a 45 by 45 by 60. Might be wrong. It might be, oh no, this is the cube, isn't it? Yeah, so this is a 1.5 cube enclosure. And it's currently housing our younger carve python female, who just tried to bite me there. It's a simple setup. All these setups, for example, like this one, are going to be done up as part of the renovation. We're going to be doing all the enclosures up properly as we want them. Similar to the one in here, but we'll go into there in a second. But she's living here, she's growing really fast. She's not going to be here much longer in terms of in this viv, because obviously carpet pythons have a tenacious appetite, and with appetite comes quite rapid growth. So she's going to be upgrading, and this will then become for one of our other animals, potentially for the Baron's racer, who we'll look at, who's no longer in this room, he's actually in the next room, or potentially the rhino rat snake. But we'll be doing it up either way, because all three of those species have similar requirements. Albeit that the sort of rhino rat snake is slightly cooler, doesn't matter. In terms of aesthetically, they have similar habitats, so we'll take a look at the other two a bit later. But that's the carve python. And so over here we have our Brazilian rainbow boas. Yes, they're housed, well, they cohabitate. No, we've never had problems. They are young animals. The male, so there's a trio, it's a 1.3. The male will be separated from the female shortly. And the reason for this is as they're starting to approach the size in which they could potentially breed, we don't want, if you will, underage breeding or breeding when the animals are too small. Now, interestingly for once, one of the animals is actually coming to see what's going on. And it could be because they're hungry. We did feed yesterday, so it could be that he is interested. Oh, actually, Jay, do you want to come up here? Because this is a rare sight during the day. We've actually got multiple heads out and about looking. So you can see they are awesome guys. They don't come out often during the day. They're probably hungry. As you can see, there's no problems between them. And we've never ever had an issue with them cohabitating. This is their, so if I give this back to Jay, This is their enclosure. Obviously, I'm not going to put my hand there. I'm more, I hope, well, I was going to say more intelligent than that, but I've got like a little stub. I'm just going to pop them on the nose just gently. There you go. They're not very sensitive to being touched. So we're just going to close this up. Now, my lovelies, will get fed soon. So when they get fed, by the way, they don't get fed together, obviously. We have allocated tubs per animal just for the feeding. They've always lived like that since we've had them, and they do tremendously well. But that's our Brazilian rainbow boa trio that we're looking forward to breeding over the next however many years it takes. So here we've got our tortoises, and every year we end up with another tortoise. It's sort of a tradition thing. So the first tortoise is actually there, but first here is Boulder, our sulcata, and she's getting quite big now. Still not big enough to outgrow this pen in here. These are 2 foot by 2.5 foot compartments, which are obviously, there's 2 of them because there's 2 tortoises here. So she's still doing well in here. Obviously, she's going to need a much, much larger environment when she gets older. You'll notice there's one door here, and that is, I think I mentioned in the last video, is Rocky, the original tortoise, who is our Greek tortoise. And he is a nightmare. He's a little escape artist, and if we leave this open, he will jump out. He's got the other half of this enclosure, and he's doing phenomenally well as well. And since then, we've actually added, originally, Pebble, which was our... help me, Jay. Redfoot. It wasn't cherry. Redfoot tortoise. And then more recently we've added another 2 Redfoot tortoises. So there's now 3 Redfoot tortoises. So on the floor over here at the moment are redfoots, and it's not a massive enclosure. We've tried to create a canopy. These are semi-forest dwelling species. They're doing phenomenally well together. There are 3 of them, 3 musketeers. A bit of a broken glass here. Not the tortoise's fault, that's my fault. I fell off a chair and went through the viv. So they're going to get a new upgrade, and as I said before, it potentially, if we can sort out the UVB and different lighting options for this enclosure up here that we showed earlier, that's empty, that the carpet python was living in, that's where they'll be moving into temporarily. There won't be a viv door on there, or we'll trade one of the doors for like a mesh panel, depending on what we decide. But that's potentially where they're going to be going to live, which is just literally up there instead of down here. But they're doing a great and amazing species to work with, honestly. Love these guys to pieces, and they're doing fantastically well for us. Right, and so on the bottom, as she has been since the last video, is Burma, our basically adult female, not fully grown, but adult female Burmese hypo Burmese python, and she is still in her hunger phase. She's been seeing the male last year. She hasn't seen him for a number of months now. She did show signs as if she was going to lay a clutch, and we've said this before, we're not intending to breed Burmese pythons more than once ever. It's literally just a one-time thing. So we'll introduce them again this year and see if they do anything. We're not really pushing the fact, we just introduce them, give them some time together, separate them, and if she goes, she goes. If she doesn't, she doesn't. But she's doing fantastically well. She's still loving her trough. We would have loved to create something slightly different for her. We've had a lot of ideas, but we're saving that for when we actually move out of this house into a home that we actually own, to build her ultimate viv, basically, which would include a water portion in which she could swim in. At the moment, obviously, just the weight alone of such a thing would not make it possible. Where, you know, upstairs in a house, the floorboards would not be able to hold that much water. So we'll be reserving that for the future, as well as even if we built that thing here, it'd have to be built in this room. So we'd have to dismantle the whole room, and then there'd be no way of taking those things out of here. So Burma is doing fantastic where she is. It's a nice spacious viv. It's an 8 foot by 3 foot viv floor plan. She does not, even though she's a giant animal, she does not fill it. She has a log in there which she climbs. I say she climbs, she destroys it more than she does anything to it, to be honest. She just wrecks it, but it's in there, helps her shed, it gives her something to do, and we're obviously moving the position of it constantly, so she's always a bit interested in what's going on. And when she's not interested in the log, she's interested in the dogs, like this one here, which is why she's so close to the front. She can smell a puppy, which is my dog, and she thinks, oh look, food. And Belle has no idea that she's being hunted, because, well, should she? But Burma is doing well. So lastly up here we also have the V18 and V15 rack for our ball python hatchling slash holdback slash slightly grown on animals which we're holding back for the future. This is going to be decommissioned very shortly. We're changing the whole of up here actually. This viv will actually be going next door to the breeding room, which we'll take a look at in a second. And up here will basically be turned into a rack for FB 10 tubs from Freedom Breeder, which will house the ball python holdbacks that we have for the future. And that will actually cover the whole of the top up here. It will look a lot smoother, a lot sleeker, whilst we, you know, improve these vivs. And it will bring also some well done up vivs into the next door, which we'll take a look at. It's kind of started, not really, but you'll get a gist when we go over there. So that's the plan for up here, and that's how this part of the exhibit room is doing. So on this side, it changed as well. I think we had this over here, and we had the bra plast tubs over here. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. It's taken over. What we're doing is we're going to be getting rid of all of this. This is all going. And it's a bit of a mess at the moment because obviously we've got bits and pieces all over the place. It's been a busy cleaning day. But this entire section is actually going to go. And what we're intending on doing here is, instead of having all these random racks and different size tubs, like we said earlier in the video, up there will be all the FB10 tubs, and all the hatchlings will actually be kept in FB5 tubs, which are, you know, narrow, they lack the vision. But the idea is that we'll have a counter here, about, I think we said it's about the height of this right now, maybe slightly higher, coming out there, right? So it'll be like a countertop that we can work on, and we can take photos on, etc. like that. And below it, we're going to build a rack of FB5 tubs. It will hold, I believe it's 99 or 100 tubs down there, and that will encompass all of our hatchlings. So hatchlings, and then potentially, you know, holdbacks, which will be moving up there, and things like that. But the idea is that we're trying to compress everything into less tub sizes. So instead of having what we currently have, which are 4 or 5 different tubs in here, and we were sort of worried that the sort of ball python racks were taking over the exhibit room, which was not the original intention of this room. We're going to streamline it more, so it's a bit nicer. We have a nice little counter going on here, a nice little area we can take pictures. We may even have a couple vivs up on the counter. You know, we're potentially looking at doing something like gargoyle geckos. Jay's bugging me for a lychee. So maybe something like that will come in here, and that's what will go on top of the counter. But so this entire area here is going to change very shortly. At the moment, it's a 9 litre very useful box rack, which has some of the holdbacks, and then another rack with V18s, which are slightly grown on hatchlings from last season and this season. So that's this exhibit room done, pretty much. It's not changed massively. There have been some changes, but the biggest changes are yet to come. We're looking forward to doing more things in here. So let's take a look, because this is the only room we've shown off in our reptile room videos previously. So let's take a look at another room.